What's up? It's your boy, Mr. Cadillac King himself and things. Oh yeah, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel. Hope you all enjoy the video that I have for you today. Hope you enjoy it. I really hope you enjoy it. If you love Cadillacs like I do, you'll definitely enjoy it. And if you enjoy just good talk, then I know you'll also enjoy today's video. Y'all like, share, subscribe, and we out. Hello everybody, welcome to the channel, Mr. ChristopherDMoore, where I do talk about cars and other things also. Today we're going to cover credit, mostly personal credit, and then also at the end of the video, I'm going to explain to you how to remove hard inquiries from your report within 72 hours. So let's get into the video. So we're going to talk about credit, like I said, personal credit. So the first thing is, okay, well, how can we control our credit? How can we keep our credit intact? And what all does it take? Well, mostly it takes responsibility, right? Being responsible, paying your bills on time, just doing things the way you're supposed to do it. I mean, we all have slip-ups. We all, we go through things where, we'll hit a bump or two. But mostly being responsible is how you can basically control your credit. Nobody else can control what happens to your credit except for you. So I can control mine, you can control yours. So there's ways that, our credit can make us money on the side. So there's a lot of factors when it comes to credit and what it can do for us, right? So one way our credit can make us money is having great credit, having credit cards with, doesn't have to be huge amounts, but it has to have age. So if the card has over like 6-7 years of credit history, then we can take that card and it can have a $500 limit, because it really doesn't matter about the limit. It really matters about the age of the card and how good the person that owns the card has been paying their bills and been responsible with the card. So if they've been doing all of those things the right way, someone that comes along and they're trying to build credit history and trying to boost their credit score, say, okay, well, Mr. Moore, can you put me on your card? And what that is putting somebody on your card as a authorized user, right? Another name for it is, when you're charging for it, is trade line. So that's selling the trade line. Some cards have 5 trade lines per card, some have 10, some have 15. It just depends on the credit card company. But when you put somebody on as authorized user on your card, you can charge them every 60 to 90 days. You have a fee, and what happens is all the age of credit and the reported credit from this card, and the report will go to this person's credit report also. So they will now then gain your age of history of that card and the payment history of that card and things like that. It'll boost their credit. So you can charge them for that. And that's how you can make money. That's one way of making money with your credit, right? So there's this thing that we've all been told, either as young teenagers. I guess some kids can be told it too, just depending on how their parents are bringing them up. But I was told once before, okay, well, credit cards are bad. Don't get credit cards. My parents tell me don't get credit cards and try to pay for everything with your own money that you go to work, that you work hard for, pay for everything with cash, right? Don't use credit cards. Well, I mean, in some cases, credit cards can be bad. But remember, I just told you how you can make money off of credit cards. So at the end of the day, is it really bad? No, it's not. It's only bad if you're not responsible. And not saying, okay, our parents weren't responsible, but they weren't 100% responsible. Maybe they was buying for us, or maybe they was buying for themselves, and they maxed the card out, and it was hard for them to pay the card off, whatever the case may be, right? So having credit cards isn't bad. It's actually good. You know what I'm saying? It gives you positive accounts, total accounts on your credit report. It helps you build your credit report. I mean, it does a lot of things for you. It helps you be able to use their money, meaning the bank's money, instead of always using your money. You just have to be responsible with their money, especially dealing with personal credit. You gotta be responsible for handling the bank's money on personal credit. You have to be. Same thing with business. It just works. It just works a little different. But with personal credit, you can't be maxing them out. You gotta understand how credit actually works when dealing with credit cards, because it can hurt you, but if you do it right, you can actually, you can gain something from it. It'll help you. So don't believe the thing of don't get credit cards and stuff like that. That's not true. Get them. Just be responsible. Don't max them out. Be responsible. Stay up on your credit utilization on each card, so that way when it comes back and reports to your whole credit report, and then you look at credit utilization, it's low. It's not high, because the higher your credit utilization, it's going to hurt your score. The lower your credit utilization, it will help your score. So a high credit utilization hurts the score. A low credit utilization helps the score. Remember that. So, who owns the credit bureaus? Nobody owns the credit bureaus. TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, they operate on their own. Nobody owns them. They do their own thing. They got regulations they gotta follow, of course, but nobody owns them. Nobody does. But they're not the only bureaus. There are other bureaus or other companies that help Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax with them doing their job. And when I say by helping Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax doing their job is when you try to file a dispute, these secondary bureaus and these secondary companies, they house all your information. You say, well, what information? They house everything. Everything that you put in when you apply for anything. When you go and get a job and you write your information down, your address, your phone number, whatever the case may be, your birthday, your social security number, they have all of that. They have all that information. So when you try to go file a dispute through TransUnion or Equifax or Experian, they're going to tell you, give us 30 days, and we'll come back with you with a decision on whether or not we're going to remove this account or if this account is going to stay on your credit report. All they do is they call it these secondary bureaus. I'll give you a couple. You have LexisNexis and you have SaveStream. These companies house all your information, right? TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, they don't do most of the legwork when you're filing a dispute trying to get information. They just call up these secondary companies and say, hey, we need Mr. Moore's past addresses, his phone numbers. We need all of this information. When they get all this information and you're trying to file a dispute on an account or even a hard inquiry, whatever the case may be, and they get that information and they can trace that information back to you, whether it's the address, whatever the case may be, even if you're staying at a new address, but the account had an old address, and they can get that information that shows that you was living at that address. Well, now that account's gonna stick. But you say, well, how can I stop that? where you go and you opt out. And you have two choices when you go to these two sites that I tell you, LexisNexis and SageStream. You have a 5-year opt-out option, then you have a forever opt-out option. When you do the forever opt-out option, you'll do that, you'll hit the 5-year, and then you'll print off a PDF document. You'll fill that document out. The document is not 2 pages, it's like a half a page. You fill out a couple lines of information, you put it in the mail, you send it back to LexisNexis, and you send it back to SageStream. What happens is it'll opt you out forever, right? But if you don't, you have to do this every 5 years. If you just do the online version opt out, every 5 years, you have to go opt out again. But within those 5 years, when you go file a dispute, they're not going to share your information with none of the credit bureaus at all. The credit bureaus are going to have to figure it out on their own, right? So they can't get the information on their own. Guess what? Whatever that you was filing a dispute on, guess what? It gets removed because they didn't have the information that they needed to actually remove, to actually stick that account to you and not remove it from your credit report. So that is like the main thing, one of the main things you have to do before filing a dispute. You have to opt out of these secondary credit bureaus that house information. You have to opt out of those. You have to. Because if you don't, you trying to file a dispute and win that dispute is gonna be, it's gonna be trying. It ain't gonna be easy. It's gonna be kind of hard. So opt out. Now, that's one thing you gotta do. That's one part of understanding how the credit bureaus work and who's helping them, and who's working with them, and how they all just work together to do whatever they gotta do to get the job done. So I just told you about the companies that keep the information. So now, when it's time to file a dispute, okay, you've opted out already, that's good. But have you even looked at your credit report yet? Have you got your credit report and printed it off from Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion? Right now, in the time of the day we're in, because we're in this pandemic, they are actually letting people get their credit report either once or twice a week, so that way you can see what's on your credit report and what's going on, helping you, giving you an incentive to try to keep track of your credit report while we're going through these hard times. If you don't take advantage of that, well, that's on you. If I were you, I would take advantage of that. Download, print out all 3 of your credit reports, lay them all out on the table or whatever, and compare them. Make sure all the information is correct from this one to that one to that one. If there's any inaccurate information on your credit report, your name is spelled wrong, your birthday is wrong, your social security number is wrong, your address is wrong on one of your accounts because you live at a new current address, listen, you can have this stuff removed. You can have it removed. You just gotta understand how to do it. It's a process, right? So you looked at your credit report, you said, okay, well, this account right here, this account right here, this account right here, they don't even have the same address. It's like 3 different addresses. And within those 3 different addresses, the current address you currently live in ain't neither one of those 3 addresses. So guess what? When you go file a dispute, they're gonna ask you why you want to file a dispute, what's wrong with the account, how is this not your account? And they give you multiple things to choose from. And if I'm right, there should be one that'll give you the option of saying, okay, well, this information is correct, whatever the case may be, right? Just somewhere along the lines of the information isn't, like, that's not my address, like, my name's spelled wrong, whatever. It's gonna give you that option. So when you do that, you file the dispute, and they're gonna tell you, okay, well, we give us 30 days, we'll get back to you with our decision. Well, within the 30 days, of course, like I told you before, they're gonna call the secondary bureaus, try to get your information, but they can't get it. Why? Because you opted out. So now they don't have any help. They gotta figure it out on their own. But 9 times out of 10, they ain't gonna figure it out. It's gonna get removed. Now, along with doing this, there's a letter that you use. It's a letter that you send in for filing disputes. It's called a 609 letter. So you can download this letter off Google. It's a template. You download it, you put it in your Word document, you edit the document, you edit the letter to your situation, right? Edit it to your situation. So that way it works in your favor. Now, you say, well, what do I do with this letter? You got 3 different credit bureaus. Whoever that you're filing a dispute with, that's who you send it to. So if you're filing with TransUnion, you send it to TransUnion. You file it to Experian, you send it to Experian. You file it with Equifax, you send it to Equifax. Now, when you're finished writing this letter, if today is the 31st, don't put the 31st on this letter. Put January 1st. Put December 31st. You know what I'm saying? And then send the letter out. You say, well, why do I backdate it? I'm going to tell you why. You backdate it because by the time they get it, you could take another step. Because it's going to look like they've had the letter for so long and nothing has happened. Now you take the next step. Now, nobody owns the credit bureaus, but there is a big brother company that governs and regulates all 3 credit bureaus when it comes down to personal credit, and that is called the CFPB. You go to cfpb.gov and you can read all about it. When you're filing disputes and stuff like that, you know, these credit bureaus, they have a certain amount of time they gotta work within. Normally it's 30 days. They gotta work within those 30 days, right? So I told you to backdate it. By the time they get it, you've already backdated to where it's already over 30 days. So you're already winning that already. You've got that in the bag. Now, you're gonna call the CFPB, or you're gonna get in touch with the CFPB, and everything that you did of filing the dispute in the beginning, they're not probably not gonna tell you. I've never used this way, but I know it works. But I'm gonna tell you this right here. They're not gonna ask you, did you opt out of the secondary bureaus? They ain't gonna ask you that. They ain't gonna ask you that. It ain't for you to know, but they're not gonna ask you that. I promise you. You're gonna have to do that. I told you to do it, so go do it. What they're gonna ask you is, did you send a letter? What letter did you send? What date did you send the letter? You don't give them January 31st. You give them the date that you put on the letter. You give them the date that you put on the letter, because that will tell them, okay, well, wow, it's been that long, and they still haven't did anything. They still haven't removed any actual report. You haven't heard anything from them? No, I haven't. Okay, well, no worries. What they're gonna do is they're now gonna use their power within their organization, and they're gonna call the credit bureau. Hey, look, such, they sent us all the information that they sent you, and they said nothing has happened. It's been over 30 days. We need you to remove this account from the credit report, or how many of accounts reports that they had listed inside the letter. We need those accounts removed now. Guess what's gonna happen? They're gonna remove them. They gotta listen to the CFPB. They regulate that. They regulate them. They are the ones that regulate the 3 credit bureaus. So this is the way of how you file a dispute. Yeah, I know it seems like a quite of a long process, but if you want to do it yourself, this is the way you do it, right? But if you don't want to do it yourself, I mean, there's a lot of folks out here that fix credit that would be more than happy to do it for you for a charge. I don't mind either. So that's how you file a dispute there. Now we're going to talk about what a credit report should actually look like, okay? So now you've filed your disputes. You're in the middle of trying to fix your credit and bring your score up, you know, just trying to make everything right, you know, just trying to, you want your score to be high, right? You ain't even thinking about anything else. I mean, you filing disputes, you get negative items removed, but you still focus on that score, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and break it down to you. Score means nothing, right? It's good to have a nice 800, 700, 650, 670 score. It's good, right? But your data points, if your payment history ain't right, if your credit utilization is too high, if you got too many derogatory remarks, I tell you what, if you got any derogatory remarks, it ain't right. If your age of credit ain't right, and if you got not enough total accounts, that's positive, and if you got too many hard inquiries, your credit report ain't right. So your data points, again, I'm gonna give them to you one more time. Payment history, credit utilization, derogatory remarks, age of credit, total accounts, and hard inquiries. Those are your data points. These are the things that the banks, the credit card companies, these are the things that they are looking at when they are deciding whether or not they're gonna approve you for any type of lines of credit or any type of loans. Even when you go get a house, they looking at all of this stuff, all of it. So we're gonna start with the first one. We're gonna start with payment history. Your payment history must be 100%. I'm not gonna tell you 95. I'm not gonna tell you 90. I'm not gonna tell you 85. Because to be honest with you, if you can't pay your bills on time, don't nobody want to give you no money. Don't nobody want to lend you anything. Because they don't think you're gonna pay them back. Or they don't think you're gonna pay them on time. Having bad payment history can really ruin any chances of you getting any type of lines of credit most of the time. I'm just telling you. I mean, you gotta pay your bills. It goes back to being responsible, right? I know, but you said, okay, well, look at the time of the day. I know the time of the day we're in right now. We're in a pandemic, right? Well, they've put things in place to where people's payment history doesn't get, messed up, right? But after this stuff goes away, we already know these people gonna want their money, whatever you owe them. And if you don't pay them, and you don't pay them on time, what's gonna happen? They gonna credit to the bureaus. They gonna say, Mr. Moore ain't paying us, or Mr. Such and Such ain't paying us our money. They late, they behind. Shoot, we gonna close the account. Now you got a derogatory remark on your account, and you got something in collections. Same thing as derogatory remarks. Derogatory remarks are just like collections. It's the same thing, just a different name for it. So, payment history, 100%. Pay your bills. Don't be skipping the bill to go shopping. Just pay the bill. Because if your payment history goes down, it hurts your credit score. And it makes your credit report looks bad. It makes it very, very bad. So, 100% payment history. Not 95, 100%. I want y'all to have great payment history. Great payment history. So, now, we go to credit utilization. Credit utilization is, say I got 5 credit cards, right? On each credit card, it's not going to give you a percentage of the card that you're using for the utilization. You're not going to get that. You have to understand that you need to be using, if that credit line is $5,000, you only need to use about 15 to 20% of that. If you can use 10 to 15%, that's even better. So, same thing with the other 4 cards. Understand your limit, do the math. What is the 10 to 15% of that 5,000, of that 10,000? Know that amount of that limit between the 10 and 15%. And if it's $1,000, well, you know you can only use $1,000 off of that $5,000. On the $10,000, if it's $5,000, well, if it's $3,000 or $2,500, you know you can only use $2,500 off that card. And at using that $2,500, you're at a good spot you're at a good spot. You're not using too much of the card, and when it credits to the bureau, it'll help your credit because only on your credit report is where you see the large scale of your credit utilization. Like I said before, it's not going to show, each card is not going to give you how much, what's the percentage of your utilization on that card. It's not going to give you that. It's only on the broad aspect of your report is where it's going to show at. So you got these 5 cards. Every card has its limit. You know I need to be between 10 and 15% on each of these limits. I can only use 10 to 15% of each of these limits on each of these cards. Now, when you report back to the bureau, you shouldn't even be at 30%. You should be below 30%. You should be at about 15%, 10%, right? If you're at 30%, if you're at 25%, no, it's not gonna hurt your credit. It ain't gonna bring it down, but it ain't gonna help your credit score either. It's gonna be in the green on your Credit Karma, right? So you're looking at your Credit Karma report and you see your score, then you go down and you see all these other subtitles, right? And beside the subtitles is green, yellow, red. Some of them are green, some are yellow, some are red. Well, if you got good payment history, then it's going to be green beside payment history. If your credit utilization is too high, it's going to be yellow or it's going to be red. And if it's 30%, it's going to be green. Okay? So, but you want to be below 30%. 30% is not going to help your credit. It ain't going to hurt it either, but it ain't going to help your credit. If you get down to 10%, it's going to help your credit. It's going to make your credit score grow. Why? Because you're not using all of your credit. You're not using all of your line of credit. You're using them, but you ain't using a lot of them, and you ain't maxing them out, right? So you gotta understand how credit utilization works and make it work in your favor. Because when you're going to go apply for something, you really want to be between 2 and 9% of credit utilization. It looks great. It looks real good. The banks love that. So, but if you're just floating along and you're not really trying to go get a loan or anything right now, 10 to 15% is fine. But when you're going to try to apply for something, let's try to be in the 2 to 9% credit utilization on your credit report, because it just looks totally better. So that's credit utilization. Now we're going to go to derogatory remarks. Like I said earlier, derogatory remarks are just like having something go to collections. So a doctor bill, an old cable bill, whatever the case may be. If you don't pay it, it's going to go to collections, right? Now, I give you one secret. Doctor bills. Doctor bills should never be transferred from a hospital to a collection agency, only because they should not be sharing your information with other agencies. That's a HIPAA regulation. So, if you have a doctor's bill that's on your credit report, it's in the collections, you can have it removed due to HIPAA regulations. They cannot share your information with anyone else, right? Boom. So now, derogatory remarks. Anything that's in derogatory is something that you haven't paid. It can even come back from payment history. If you miss payments and stuff, it can be moved to your derogatory remarks. There will be a remark on your credit report saying, okay, well, you missed the payment, blah, 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 and it's going to make your score go down. Not only near miss the payment's going to go down, but now you have a derogatory remark, it's going to make your score go down even more. So remember, pay your bills on time, be responsible, pay your bills, have great payment history. This will keep you from having derogatory remarks. Just be responsible and pay your bills. Don't let none go into default. Keep everything paid. You won't have no derogatory remarks, period. The only way you can have derogatory remarks is if you do it. Like I said in the beginning, you are in control of your credit. No one else. You are in control of it. If you pay your bills and you be responsible, you ain't got to worry about nothing, right? So those are derogatory remarks. You want 0 on your report. 0. You don't want 1, you don't want 2, you want 0. You want that to be a green ticker on your credit card report also. 0 derogatory remarks is great. If you have them on your report and you're trying to go apply for something, that just gives the bank another thing to think about when you are trying to get a car. They're gonna say, whoa, wait a minute, they got things in collections. Do we really want to give them something? Because at some point in time, they ain't paid something on your account that you haven't paid. And most of the time, they can see it. Excuse me, they can see it. So, I mean, you just gotta keep that. You gotta keep that into mind. I mean, into thought. You gotta keep that into thought. So, that's derogatory remarks. Age of credit, right? Your age of credit is basically how long you've been using your credit, right? How long you've been giving people your social security number to give you things on credit, whether it's TVs, cars, personal loans, student loans, whatever, right? So easy way for anybody to get age of credit is student loans, honestly. I mean, most people go to college. I mean, some people don't. And if you don't, I got a way to tell you. But we're gonna go along the lines of most people goes to college, right? I don't care if it's community college, whatever the case may be. You're getting a student loan. So, student loans and age of credit. Well, let's say you spent 10 years in school, you spent 5 years in school, right? And this is probably the only thing you have on your credit. I mean, no cell phone bill, no car payment, no mortgage, no rent. This is what you have in your credit. You have your student loans, right? This is your big main majority of your age of credit. It's 5, 6 years, right? And you say, okay, well, I want to have them removed. That's fine. You can have them removed. There's nothing wrong with that. But understand, when you remove student loans, you're going to take away the age of credit also. And you're going to take away a positive account. If you was paying on them and it wasn't in default and it wasn't in collections and you wasn't behind, but you was paying on them and you was doing what you were supposed to do, you're going to lose age of credit and you're going to lose the number of total of positive accounts. Because most student loans aren't paid out through one agency. They're paid out through multiple agencies, 3 to 4 agencies. So that gives you 3 to 4 positive accounts as long as you was paying them like you was supposed to. But if you take that off your credit report, you're gonna lose that. Age of history and total number of positive accounts. You're gonna lose those positive accounts when you take those student loans off. So yes, you can benefit from having student loans in your credit report. You just gotta be paying them. That's it. Yes, they can hurt your credit report if you ain't paying them. It goes again. Pay your bills. Pay them on time. Be responsible. So there's pros and cons to having student loans. There's pros and cons to remove them. Because if you remove them, yeah, it's gonna make your score go up, but it ain't gonna be. I mean, it ain't gonna do it so much because you're gonna lose age of credit history. You want that age of credit history. You want that. When looking at your report, a good age of credit history is 5 years. 5 years in a month. 5 years to the minimum. If you have 4 years and 12 months, well, that ain't enough. It's not enough. 5 years and 1 month is the best. 5 years is the minimum. But you want that 5 years in a month of age of credit history. Looks good. Doesn't know, okay, well, they've been using credit for a while, and you know, they got some experience up under their belt. That's the way they look at it. They got some experience up under their belt, and they understand credit, right? And you ain't got to be an expert. You just show you got 5 years plus of age of credit, so they looking at it, okay, well, this young lady, they understand credit. So if everything else lines up right, go ahead, give them the money, give them the credit card, let them go about their business, right? So you say, okay, well, what other way can I gain age of credit history? Well, you have something that you can report rent to, mortgage, these places called Rent Reporters, Credit My Rent, uh, Rent Reporters, Credit My Rent, and then there's one more, right? Uh, and what happens is, say you've been living somewhere paying rent for about 7 years, right? Well, you go to Rent Reporters and it's okay, well, we can credit you back 5, 6 years. I can't remember the correct number. It's between 5 and 6 years. They're gonna give you that credit history 5 years back, right? And then each month they're gonna credit every time you pay, right? And you pay on time. So now you've got 5, 6 years from student loans, 6 years from the Rent Reporters, and now you're looking at 11, anywhere between 10 to 12 years of age of credit history, right? That's awesome. That's a way to get age of credit history. That's one way, right? So that's age of credit. Nothing less than 5 years limit, or 5 years, 5 years to the minimum. Okay. Another way to gain age of credit and payment history and build your credit and save some money is using an account called a self-lender account, right? So now we're gonna fall into the total accounts that you need on your credit report, right? When going to apply for credit, and what structures, how many accounts make a credit report look good, but they gotta be positive accounts. Always remember, they gotta be positive accounts. So you say, okay, well, you got the 3 accounts with the student loans, you have your Rent Reporters accounts, right? No more than like 2 of those. Don't do 3, just do about 2 of the Rent Reporters account that report your rent, do 2 of those. So now you got 5 accounts, right? You're building age of credit history, you're building payment history, and you're still building your credit score, period, right? Well, you say, okay, well, I want to have another positive account, because you want 10 positive total accounts on your credit report, nothing less than 10. You want 10. That puts you in the green. That gives you a green ticker, right? On your credit card report when you're looking at it. You're looking at the data points. 10 positive accounts, green ticker, boom. You say, okay, well, how can I get another positive account? I have 5, but I still need 5 more, right? You can get a car. I mean, anything that you can run your credit to get will give you a positive account. I'll give you one that you don't even have to run your credit. Just sign up, follow the steps, and you'll have an account, right? It's called Self-Lender. Self-Lender Credit Builder, right? What this account does is, it's a credit loan builder. It's a loan that you're paying to yourself to help build credit, right? So the minimum amount you can pay a month is $25. It don't matter how much you pay a month, it's still gonna credit the same way. If you pay $100, it's gonna credit the same way. If you pay $1,000 a month, it's gonna credit the same way as the person paying $25 a month. So I say not to put yourself out there in too much of a ledge, just do $25 a month. And you say, okay, well, Chris, where's this money going? This money is going to an account. And I think it's called Lead Bank. Is the actual bank institution. I think it's Lead Bank. So Lead Bank is the one that you're paying this money to, right? It's going to this account. You have a 2-year term, and I think you have 4-year terms. You may have longer ones. But after the term, after you've paid this $25 a month for 2 years, they're gonna take this money and they're gonna ask you, do you want us to send you a check? Do you want us to direct deposit this money into your account? Or do you want us to put it in a CD for you and it'll gain more interest? Because it's going to gain interest while you're actually paying within the term. It's going to gain interest. So this right here, this type of account is going to help you. It's going to help your credit score. It's going to give you age of credit. It's going to give you payment history, and it's going to give you another positive account. Then you say, okay, well, what if after the 2 years, what do I do? You can open up another one. If I'm right, you can open up 2 at one time. It doesn't hurt anything, right? It's only there to help. And guess what? The money you're paying back, you're going to get it right back. It's coming right back to you. It's coming right back to you. 2 to 4 years later, it's coming right back to you. I do 2-year terms. I still use it. Even though my credit's good, I still use it. So I'm not telling you to use something I'm not using, because I use it and it works. So that'll give you another positive account. Like I said, you can get a car. That's another positive account. All right. What else? They have this thing called swap lease. You go to swaplease.com. You can take over somebody's lease, right? You gotta pay whatever it is a month. This is another positive account you can put on your credit report. And with swap lease, you can do a whole lot of other things with that car that you get to make money off that car. You can turn that car from a liability into an asset super fast. You just gotta understand how to do it, right? So that's your total accounts and how to get total accounts. So now we're gonna talk about hard inquiries. Hard inquiries they come when you get your credit ran, right? When you're running your credit, that's how you get hard inquiries. You run your credit for different things. Excuse me for a second. So you run your credit for different things where you're trying to get a car, you're trying to get a house, and every time your credit is ran, it's a hard inquiry unless they tell you, okay, we're gonna do a soft pull. Soft pull, it doesn't hurt your credit report. A hard pull, which is a hard inquiry, it hurts your credit report. Okay, if they need your social security number, they're gonna do a hard pull. Especially if they need your full social security number, it's gonna be a hard pull, right? So hard inquiries. When it comes to hard inquiries, you don't want more than 2 to 5 inquiries on your report. You're trying to apply for another line of credit. Whatever the line of credit is, you don't want more than 2 to 5. If you have 2 and 5 on your report, you're in the green on your Credit Karma. Looking at your Credit Karma report, you go down hard inquiries. If it's green, your price is between 2 and 5, right? If you're at 10, it's probably gonna be yellow, it's gonna be red. If you're at 20, it's definitely gonna be red. If you're at 15, you're probably sitting in the red still. So the way to minimize hard inquiries is being pre-approved before you go anywhere, right? So we're going to use the car lot for an example. The car lot method is if you bank with someone already, so you bank with state employees, because I'm from North Carolina, so we have state employees, like North Carolina State Employees Credit Union. So if you've been banking with them, you should try to go talk to them about getting you either one, a personal loan to get a car, or just get a car loan through them. See what they will approve you for. They're going to run your credit one time, right? And they're going to tell you what you're approved for. They're going to tell you what they can do for you, correct? So what that does is keeps you from having so many hard inquiries from trying to get a car. Now, say you don't take that approach and you just go to the bank, right? I mean, you just go to the car lot and you say, okay, well, I want this card. And you say, okay, that's fine. Well, let me get your information so we can run your credit. Well, what they're going to do is they're going to run your credit, right? But they're not going to run it once. They're going to run it like 10 to 15 times. And you say, well, how is that? They're going to run it to a whole bunch of different lenders, right? All of these lenders are going to have your information. Every single lender that captures it is a hard inquiry. So you go from running it once at the bank to going to the car lot to running it 10 to 15 times. Understand, every inquiry is 3 to 5 points off your credit score. These inquiries don't go away until after 2 years of the date it was put on your credit report. So, if you want to just go to the car lot and do it that way, when you show up, we're going to use Chevrolet. Chevrolet uses GM Financial for their loans, their car loans, right? GM Financial. You show up, you say, hey, listen, I want this Camaro right here, but when you run my credit, I only want you to run through GM Financial. Do not run my credit through anybody else but GM Financial. If they run it through anybody else, you now then, when it shows up on your credit report, you have the right to file a dispute and say, hey, I did not authorize this hard inquiry, this hard inquiry pool to be done on my credit report. It needs to be removed. I didn't authorize that. Fraud, basically. So you'll call whatever credit bureau it is, whether it's TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, you'll call them, they'll have it removed, right? So you don't want a bunch of hard inquiries, because when you're going to apply for things and the bank sees all those hard inquiries, and they say, they are credit hungry, they're desperate for a line of credit. Maybe we don't need to give them anything, because they done ran the credit, God knows, 20 some times within the past 3 months. 3 to 6 months. It doesn't look good, right? The less inquiries you have, the better. So when you go apply for something, say, okay, well, I only have 2 to 5 hard inquiries. That's good. So they haven't been out searching for credit for a while, right? So they'll be more willing to give you a line of credit, to give you whatever it is that you were applying for. They'll be more willing to do that. So that's the hard inquiries. Those are all your data points. If all your data points are in check, your payment history is 100% green. Your credit utilization is between 2 and 9% when applying for the things, or your credit utilization is between 10 and 15% when just cruising and coasting along the way. That's great. It's still green. When you have 0 derogatory remarks, nothing in collections, you don't owe anybody any money, meaning that you haven't been paying them, meaning that you owe them some money, and it's done with your collections, or derogatory remarks. 0, 0, 0, you're green. Age of credit history, 5 years and a month, or 5 years to the minimum, you're green. Then it comes to your total number of accounts, 10 plus positive accounts. If you have 10 accounts and 5 of them are negative, well, you don't have 10 positive accounts, you only have 5 positive accounts. So you want 10 positive accounts in your credit report. And then when it comes to your hard inquiries, you want 2 to 5 for your hard inquiries on all 3 credit reports, from all three bureaus. Because one thing that I didn't mention, so with your hard inquiries, each from TransUnion to Equifax to Experian, they may have different numbers of hard inquiries for your reports. So you got to make sure all of them are below or between the 2 and the 5 or below. So you got to be in tune with your credit report. You got to understand what's going on. You got to know what you got going on in your report, so that way you know when you're going to apply, you know what you're getting yourself into. So when they come back and tell you no, you already know why, right? So just make sure you understand that. So now, another thing that I wanted to discuss with you guys is, when it comes to if you file a bankruptcy, you can also have a bankruptcy removed from your credit report. You just take a different route, right? There's a different type of groundwork that you got to do to get a bankruptcy removed from your credit report. But you can do that. So if you got a bankruptcy, don't worry about it. You can get that removed also. You definitely can get that removed. So now we're going to talk about also Social Security credit cards and unsecured cards. An unsecured credit card, you don't have to have anything up front. They're going to give you whatever credit limit that you are approved for. Secured credit card, you're always approved, but you're gonna have to pay a minimum deposit. Your minimum deposit most of the time is gonna be how much your line of credit is gonna be. $200, $500, $300, right? Like I said before, don't max it out. Use that 2 to 9 or that 10 to 15% of that credit line for that card. You're good. Pay your bill on time, you're good. They will increase that credit limit a year later, 6 months to a year later, they will increase it. So, the secured credit card. If you don't have to use a secured credit card, stay away from them. Secured credit cards, they just don't look good on your credit card. But of course, we gotta crawl before we can walk. So if that's where you gotta start off at, by all means, start off there, just be responsible. If you don't have to start off with a secured card, get an unsecured credit card, be responsible, don't use too much of the credit limit, pay your bill on time, it's gonna work out good for you. So that's that. Secured loans and personal. Secured personal loans and unsecured personal loans. Secured loans look way better on your credit report. Why? It's the same thing with secured credit card. You're bringing something to the table for us to give you something in return. It looks great. An unsecured personal loan, it's nothing wrong with that either. It's just another positive account. As long as you're paying it on time and you're doing what you're supposed to, you're good, right? So, but secured loans are just better. It looks better on the credit report. It just looks way better because you're bringing something for us to give you something. Like the Master P effect, right? When Master P went and sat down in front of folks at the table, Master P said, hey, I got this money right here. This is what I need. I need y'all to do this and this only. But I got thousands of dollars to bring to the table for y'all to have. At that point, they was like, okay, man, he's serious. We gonna do this. You know what I'm saying? We gonna do this, right? So that's what the secured loan looks like when the banks are looking at it. They know you had to bring something to get something. So they know you about your business, right? So that's kind of how that works. So another thing is understanding the revolving credit and installment credit. Revolving lines of credit, installment lines of credit. Revolving credit is always there. Installment credit is not always there. If you buy a car that's an installment loan or an installment line of credit, once you pay it off, it's gone. What if it's $30,000? It's gone. If you get a credit limit, an installment credit limit of $2,000, once you pay that $2,000, once you use the $2,000, it's gone. You can't use that $2,000 again. You just got to pay it all back. And once you pay it all back, like I said, it's gone. You won't use that again. Revolving credit always shows back up. So a credit card, $10,000 limit. If you use $5,000 of that $10,000, when you pay that $5,000 back, you now have $10,000 to use again. Revolving lines of credit. Mostly credit cards are revolving lines of credit. Car loans aren't. Personal loans, they aren't either, unless it's just like a straight up line of credit to where it's $100,000 line of credit and you spend $90,000, you pay the $90,000 back. Well, now you got $100,000 again. But most personal loans are installment loans. Installment loans go away. Revolving lines of credit, they stay. They revolve. You know what I'm saying? They grow bigger. You know what I'm saying? As time goes on. As long as you pay what you're supposed to pay back, you'll get that money back. It's gonna show right back up on that credit limit. It's gonna show right back. You spend 50, you pay 50 back, you get the 50 right back. Revolving, it's coming right back. So that's the difference between revolving and installment, right? So another thing is I'm gonna tell you guys how to remove the hard inquiries from your credit report within 72 hours. Now you gotta be consistent with this because some people are gonna pick the phone up and they're gonna tell you something and you're just gonna stop and you're not gonna call back, right? But you gotta keep calling and calling and calling, and they will remove this from your report. Understand, if you're trying to get these hard inquiries removed, if it is an open account on your report that you're paying them, if you're paying GM Financial and you just got the car a year ago, remember the hard inquiries don't come off until 2 years after the date is removed. It comes off 2 years of the date that it was added to the report. So 2020 is when you got it. 2022 is when it's gonna come off, right? In 2021, if you're still paying on that car, you cannot get that hard car removed because that account is still open. But any closed accounts on your credit report that you have an inquiry on your report, you can have that removed. Even if you apply for something and you ain't get approved for it, you can have that removed. All you do is you call all 3 credit bureaus. This is why you print out your credit report. You call all 3 credit bureaus, right? And you see what hardened card you have. You get all this information together. You call each credit bureau. You tell them all the hardened cards that you want removed. They're gonna ask you, well, did you send this letter in? Blah, blah, blah. You say, yeah. Even though you didn't send it in, that's fine. They're gonna check the system. They're gonna say, okay, well, if we don't see it, can you send it again? Then you call us back and we'll handle the situation. That's not the person that's gonna do it. You gotta call back. You gotta keep calling back until you find a person who say, okay, well, let's just go ahead, let's just do it right now. If it's 24 to 40 hours, we're gonna have it removed. That's the person that when you keep calling, when you finally get them, that's when you've got it done. You know what I'm saying? You got it done, they're gonna remove it, and it's gonna be gone. But you can't just stop with the first person and say, oh, you didn't send the letter in, we don't see it in our system, you gotta send it again. If you stop there, it's not gonna get removed. I'm telling you, it's just not gonna get removed. So that's how you remove your hard inquiries from your credit report within 72 hours. So that was really all I was going to talk about today when we're dealing with personal credit and how to build a credit report, what a credit report is supposed to look like. And next time in the next video, we'll talk about business credit, how to build a business, how to scale your business, how to set up your business, and the things you need to take your business legit. Is what we'll talk about next, because personal and business credit, 2 totally different things. Almost same bureaus, the same bureaus really, but everything works different. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Thank you for visiting the channel. I hope you hit that like button. I hope you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any content. And again, I hope this video brings you value and it's helpful for you. See you guys until the next video.